Welcome to Strata. I'm Glenn.
And I'm Brandon. Welcome to the Minds on Muscle podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Minds on Muscle podcast. It is Brandon, and I'm here with Mr. Glenn, nice and short and sweet. I love it. Today, we're talking about something a little bit different. Usually, we talk about some exercise education-related stuff, something relating to muscles or the fitness business. But today, we're talking about something that's relevant to all of us, and we're going to talk about the coronavirus and exercise. And I think there's a lot of great things that we can talk about here.
Hot take coronavirus. Absolutely. Exercise is essential for health and wellness in all walks of life. And it is essential for staying healthy, even when you're in the middle of a pandemic.
So first and foremost, before we jump into this, Glenn and I are not epidemiologists, disease experts, and we are certainly not experts on the coronavirus. However, Glenn and I spend a lot of time talking to our clients about getting stronger and healthier so they can have the highest quality of life possible. And one of the things we do talk about is if you get stronger and healthier, it can actually help boost your immune system and help you be prepared for some of these unpleasant things that come as we get a little bit older. And unfortunately, the most prevalent one of these right now is the coronavirus.
That COVID-19. Oh my goodness, Brandon.
So Glenn, why don't we jump in? I mean, this is an interesting conversation. So if anyone's listening to this, if you're listening to this in the future, right now in York Region in Ontario, fitness facilities, gyms, and personal trainers are on a modified stage 2. So we're not able to work again. And so from a professional end, I think we should definitely talk about, how are we thinking about that? Mm-hmm. But I think a great place to start is talking about how you could potentially boost your immune system via exercise to try and potentially prevent these crazy coronavirus things. I mean, Glenn, how do you think about that?
You know, it's an expansive topic, and there are people that deal specifically with just exercise and resilience to disease. And as Brandon mentioned before, we are health and wellness and exercise professionals, but we're not epidemiologists or doctors. So when I'm thinking about how exercise and resistance training and all the things that we do on a professional level could help somebody, the first thing I'm thinking about is resilience. And I'm thinking about the hormetic stress that we put on our body from exercise. So Brandon and I have said this many times on the podcast, and I think it was first time I heard it was from Brandon, and that's that when we exercise, we're not chasing the sensations that we get while we exercise. We're actually chasing the adaptations to exercise. And what we're actually doing is putting stress on our body, and we're using some form of force in different amounts and intensities and directions in order to challenge the body so that it temporarily in the moment might become a little bit weaker, might be a little bit weaker an hour after exercise, but in the following hours and days, the response is your body gets a little bit stronger and a little bit more resilient. And maybe not over a week, maybe not over 2 weeks, but over the course of months and years, you have a more resilient body. So when I'm thinking about how the heck does exercise help us against the coronavirus or against any diseases, is that it just makes you more resilient because you increase your immunity to other stresses in life that are aside to the stress that you put on your body during exercise. Now, that's how I'm thinking about it. Brandon, what do you got to add on to that?
Well, I like that one. I like the idea of hormesis, right? That dose response. And that's one of the things I actually do love about exercise from a health perspective, really exactly what Glenn said, is that you prepare your body to experience higher levels of stresses in different times. And that's what's kind of funny. I mean, exercise is really stress, right? You think about, well, stress is so bad, stressed out at home, stressed out about money, stressed out about this, stressed out about your car. That's all fine, but exercise is stress. And that's a very important thing to note, because if you think of it in that way, the dosing of exercise becomes so important. You can't just go into the gym and do a 2-hour yoga class or a 2-hour free weight class or 2-hour whatever. You have to build up. But what's amazing about that is if you work your way up to the point where you can tolerate 3 hours of stress in a row, which is crazy. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. But if you can tolerate that, then your body can tolerate higher durations of stress. And then same thing with powerlifting. If you put a ton of weight on you for a few seconds, your body gets really good at responding to higher levels of stress. Now, it's not completely concurrent. Like, it's not exactly like 1 rep max means you're going to be better at dealing with really, really stressful situations, but it certainly does help. I also think one thing that's really important is if you actually look, and if you guys have been reading, people who are most affected by specifically the coronavirus are people who have respiratory conditions and people who are obese. We're not going to pick on any of those things, but quite frankly, you can use exercise, healthy diet, and all these kinds of health strategies that are really common to talk about to lose that extra body fat and to increase cardiovascular health to better prepare you for this. This is one of the reasons I think this is absolutely pivotal is that with this whole scenario, there's a lot of Americans, a lot of people in the world who are overweight. And this is one of the leading causes right now that's definitely well documented, World Health Organization and elsewhere, that makes you more susceptible to getting a condition like this.
Yeah, those comorbidities seem to be the thing that is a very large driving factor to why people pass away from the coronavirus. As you do age, let me rewind for a second. If you look at some of the statistics and data, what you do find is that the older you get, the more likely it is that if you get the coronavirus, you will pass away from it. That's a very broad, sweeping statement. It doesn't take into what's the word I'm looking for, Ben? Doesn't take into mind or contention, I suppose, all the other factors. But what do younger people have that maybe older people don't? Well, it's a little bit more resilience to life. They have a stronger immune system because they're younger, their cells are healthier, they're still growing. They've got all this working for them. And it's funny because I know some people who are in their 50s and 60s and exercise and take care of their body, and they don't ever seem to really get sick. My dad's a really great example. My dad gets sick maybe once every 2 years from the flu, and it might take him out for a couple days, but I know he's got friends. And so I should say my dad is also like a big exerciser. He rides his bike almost every day. Doesn't hit the weight so much, but he stays active, sleeps well, eats good food, a relatively healthy guy. And I know people who are in their 30s and their 40s who don't really exercise, don't get the right amount of sleep they need to recover and feel good. And it seems like they get sick all the time. So it's just interesting that the way you take care of your body, exercise, health, sleep, eating the right foods, getting the right nutrients in your body, how impactful that can be even at a later stage of life.
Yeah, I think this is the most relevant time in the last several decades to review what are we doing to be healthier. Because it's funny, exercise is an incredible thing to boost your health. It's also incredible for helping with people who are struggling with anxiety and depression, but it's kind of taboo to talk about that. Same thing, if people are overweight, it's tough. Someone who has excess body fat, I should say specifically, and you say, hey, maybe we should get you to think about cleaning up your food. It's going to make a big difference there and it will help you overall your health. Generally, it's kind of taboo. You can't really talk about that with folks. But at the end of the day, taking coronavirus out of the equation, exactly like Glenn is saying, the healthier you can be by working on aerobic capacity, anaerobic capacity. The more skeletal muscle you have to help you move easily, move symmetrically, help manage food, substrates, the more you work on mental health, the more you make sure that you have the right nutrients to your body, have enough vitamin D, vitamin C, and all these things. All of these stack up to create a strong, robust immune system. Does it mean that you're not going to get the coronavirus or cancer or one of these other conditions as you get older? It certainly does not. But I do guarantee it's going to decrease your risk of getting it as much specific to you as possible. Does it mean you can get away from that, especially if it's in your family history? No. But you can do everything you can. And these are simple things. And this is one thing that I get really fired up about. This is, again, our mantra. I talk about exercise pain-free. I really do believe if you eat pain-free, right? If you're eating foods that give you stomach problems, squash those, right? If you eat something and it doesn't let you go to the washroom for a few days, squash that. There are clear signs that our body gives us, but it seems that it's just not something that's at the forefront of many of our minds.
I really wish it was complicated, but it's not. It's not. And I know we are all our own worst enemy most of the time. It's us who gets in the way of us becoming better human beings and progressing. We all have different ways that we get around facing the truth sometimes. We have different ways we get around the things in our life that hold us back. And we can always come up with excuses. I am not immune to that myself. I come up with excuses more often than I'd like to admit for not doing work that I should, or maybe not eating the healthiest all the time. But at the end of the day, this isn't complicated stuff. If you exercise appropriately and you eat like an adult and you get the sleep that you know you need, and you know you need it, you will be healthier and you will feel your best. There's no other way around it. And I'm trying to come off as preachy or like motivational or anything like that. I just don't know how else to say it other than it really is that clear cut.
You said eat as like an adult. You mean eat like a healthy adult.
Okay, this guy, right? But it really is I mean, so like, listen, there are some cases that are more complicated. If you have type 2 diabetes or you do have cancer or something like that. And I'm not trying to say those things don't matter. But what I am trying to say is you get your fruits and vegetables, you eat lean meats, healthy fats, you get your 8 hours of sleep at night, and you try to sweat for 20, 30 minutes a day, you're going to probably feel pretty good for the most part.
I think really what Glenn and I are talking about is that you've heard of rehabilitation, right? People get hurt, something bad happens, they get sick, and you do all this stuff rehabbing to get back to where you were before, back to the ability that you were at before, right? We like to talk about prehabilitation here. And so if the truth of the matter is you don't know what stresses and what challenges your body's going to experience as you go through life. You could fall and break a bone tomorrow. You could have some family history of some condition you're unaware of. You get the coronavirus. You can get influenza. In any event, if you're pre-preparing for any events, you're trying to get as healthy and as sturdy and as robust as you possibly can before anything influences your body. When it does, you'll be better prepared for it. And there's lots of people, I don't want to toot my horn here. I haven't been sick in 5 years. The last time I was sick was when I opened this business. And it's because for 3 weeks straight, I worked for 17 hours a day, painting the building, moving in equipment, and I didn't eat anything except for sushi and Mountain Dew. I don't know why I did that, but I was just doing what I could, and that was the last time I was sick. I was sick 2 times in a row when I first opened this business, and that was the last time. To be honest, I try to just have healthy habits that I have. I try to sleep 8+ hours a night. I try to eat well. I try to exercise as much as I can. I try to decrease stress as much as I can, even though I deal with a lot of different stressors. I try to do everything I can. And I think that you as a human, it is the least expensive investment that you can make to have an awesome, healthy life.
And listen, if you're listening to this right now, don't go the route of it was the Mountain Dew that did Brandon in. Brandon got sick because he drank that delicious, sugary, golden liquid that's neon. I don't know how they get it that color. They must put the rainbow in there or something. It's insane. But what you'll notice here is that it's not about doing one specific thing. It's about doing a few different things reasonably well. It's not about doing one thing amazingly. Do most of these things pretty well, and you're going to be a robust human being. It's not about trying to cover every single basis and tick every box. I think actually from both of our experiences, we have had clients that come through our door and they say they want to get better and they want to be healthier, and they've got a laundry list of things they've tried. Maybe it's a whole bunch of different diets or specific exercise programs. And they think progress means getting everything down to like the correct repetition, to like measuring every piece of food. Your body itself is built to be this amazing dynamic organism. And so it's not about trying to give it the exact proper input. It's about getting it generally right most of the time. You can still have your Mountain Dew time to time and have your cake and take days off and, lose sleep here and there, because it's going to happen to all of us, but just try to get most things right.
I like the idea of the 80-20 rule, and I know it's kind of like a cheesy throw-off thing, but if you're mostly doing 100% as best, if you're 80% doing what best you can, if 100% of the time, 80% of the time, you're doing the best that you can, you're doing great. And then 20% of the time, if you want to enjoy yourself, I don't think that's such a terrible thing. But if you're listening to this and you're someone who's already healthy and you want to do a little bit more, or you're someone who's feeling like you're listening to this and going, heck, I don't know what I should do. I feel like I'm so far behind. Simply look at 1 week and try and do 2 things. Try to add 1 new small healthy habit, and 2, take 1 crummy habit out of the equation. If you know Friday night, you get a McCain cake and you smash that cake while you're watching The Office, don't buy the McCain cake, but watch The Office. And if you know that you only get 7 hours of sleep and you want to get 8 hours of sleep, try to get that extra hour. Those small micro changes over time really lead to something much greater. And although you might not feel like you're in a great position, or maybe you are, even those small steps will start to boost your immune system that much more, and you can be pre-prepared for whatever may come your way. We're in a very turbulent time. There's a lot of changes. This pandemic has shown us that we're going to probably be close to a year of dealing with this crazy thing, and it's not impossible for something like this to happen again. Therefore, please be as healthy as you can. It's very inexpensive. And you know what's funny, and I've said this to people before, is that if you were 80 years old, you were unhealthy, you were sick, you had arthritis, you had all these joint problems, and someone said, old Glenn, I have this pill right here. It's going to take all of your life savings. I'm going to need $1 million. You can have this pill, but this pill will help you move better, feel better. You'll have more vitality. You'll feel 10% better energetically. You'll be able to do more things. And you might even live longer. You want this pill? There are a lot of people, I bet you, in that exact same scenario who would absolutely pay $1 million for that pill. Truth be told, you have the power now. It comes with the things you put in your mouth, how you sleep, how you deal with stress, what you do with your body. And if you can improve those things a little bit and even just maintain them, you're doing pretty good.
Brent, let me ask you a question. Same vein, but small sidebar. Do you think it's easier for someone to start including something new or to start letting something go? So you had said like try eating like one small vegetable a day as like a new habit, or if on Friday nights like to smash McCain cakes and watch The Office, don't smash the cake. What do you think is easier, to add something new in there or to remove the bad thing?
I'm certainly no behavioral specialist, but I do think that adding something new for people is often easier than taking something away, especially if it's a habit. Like if you have a habit of some sort, changing that habit, especially if it's been conditioned for years and years and years, in my opinion, that's tough to take away. But that's where if you try and do both, in my opinion, you add something and then try to just, silly, but if you eat a whole McCain cake, have half, and that's not necessarily going to be a huge change, but at least you can go, okay, week 1, I'm going somewhere, and make those micro progressions. I don't know. What do you think?
I err to the side of adding something, because I think for a lot of people, changing habits is one of the hardest things that there is to do that's out there, right? And I'm a big believer in like not necessarily looking 10 years ahead, even though you have to be considerate of the future, but just trying to be a little bit better today. Yeah. And I know that I think it's easier for people to maybe add something in there and then slowly let the bad stuff kind of trickle its way out rather than trying to add and take away. Yeah. For some people that could be overloading. I do think though, as like a double 1-2 punch, when you're trying to get rid of a bad habit, you have to put a new habit in place. So an example might be if you're the kind of person who on a Friday afternoon goes to the communal donut box and has a donut in your Friday afternoon, and that's not good for you and it makes you tired and sleepy and maybe it causes you to binge a little bit later on. Instead of just not having the donut, maybe replace that with a healthier snack for yourself, right? So it's like you're removing the donut but still satisfy your craving to eat, right? So that's kind of how I might approach it. But I would say if I had to choose one, I would choose the adding something positive. And then if you're going to remove something, you got to remove it, but then add something positive in there as well. I think that makes it the most sustainable, at least from my experience.
Honestly, my wife and I definitely are people who in the past have enjoyed snacking in the evening. And I think, like to Glenn's point, although this is a super cheesy and stereotypical example, we have this kale chip salad that we make in the evenings where I put ground beef in it, a little bit of Caesar dressing, a good kind of Caesar dressing, a little bit of cheese. I put hot peppers in it and sometimes a little bit of rice. And it's delicious. And for me, it's like this healthy, delicious snack. I can make it as robust or as lean as I want. And it fulfills my kind of snacking needs, but at the same time, makes me feel good. I get a good sleep from it. Doesn't give me any indigestion. And I love it. So as much as these are cheesy, stereotypical sound bites, they're very simple steps that you can take to make some changes to your body and your life right now. And it may not stop you from getting anything bad, but it certainly can prevent it and at least get you going the right direction.
But yeah, we're just playing the odds here with all this stuff, right? The more healthy you are, the greater the odds are you're going to lead a more powerful and enjoyable life.
So on this same kind of note, which is, I think, an interesting lateral step, is Glenn and I are, as you guys know, if you've been listening to this for a while, it's your first time, we're exercise professionals. And I would say that we're pretty good exercise professionals. We work with people for a long time, both of us over a decade. And interestingly enough, in Ontario, we and commercial indoor fitness facilities and one-on-one personal trainers at this time so far are unable to work with our clients. Now, very interesting. We were shut down for 4 months in York Region. In Toronto, I think it was nearly 5 months that they were shut down. Yeah. And for me personally, and I know with Glenn as well, I work with a lot of clients who are over the age of 65 or people who are younger who are compromised in some way, either via osteoarthritis and some other condition that lowers their immune system integrity. And in the 4 months that we were gone, many of my clients objectively got less healthy. And I had one 78-year-old in particular who in 4 months lost a ton of muscle. And it was not because, I don't want to make it sound like that what we do is a panacea for these people, but the facility that we have and the access to the tools we have using our hands, using biometrics, isometrics, and plyometrics create really isolated conditions that help older people and more sensitive people who can't exercise at home to exercise. And being shut down a second time really bums me out.
Yeah, and we are at the time of filming this, we've been shut down for about a week, and I'm in the same place as you. And if you asked me a year ago, I'd be comfortable saying this, but I'll say it now. The people who I haven't seen since February, who I've been keeping in touch with, have all remarked about how much more challenging their life is. And so, yeah, you're right. It's not fair to say it's a panacea because no one situation can be attributed to a single factor. That's not how real life works. But I really feel comfortable saying that the work that we do has a profound impact on people's lives. And maybe not necessarily that it's us, but the fact that they're all exercising 2-3 days a week, in addition to doing stuff on their own, actually goes a really, really long way. I mean, if you think about it, if it takes, I'm just going to make up an arbitrary number here, like 100 units of strength to walk up a set of stairs. And, Grandpa Joe's got 110. He's got like 10 in reserve. By the time he gets to the top of those stairs, he is wiped out. But he exercises. He does some strength training for a year, maybe 2, works on some of his weaker areas. All of a sudden, he might be up to 150 strength units. By the time he gets upstairs, he doesn't have 10% capacity left. He's got 30 or 40. He's got a lot more. It's going to be a lot easier for him to recover. These things make a big difference in people's lives. People like Brandon and I, at least I'll speak for myself, I probably take it for granted that life for me to move is very, very easy. I've been exercising for the better part of almost 18 years now. I don't do crazy squats or anything like that, but my muscles contract really, really well. And even see it when I go to jiu-jitsu. Some of these guys, it's after like 5 minutes, they're exhausted, they're worn out, their joints hurt. For me, I mean, I train smart, but I can go 5 minutes, 5 times over, no problem, and just keep after it because I'm a healthy, fit person. And so what I'm coming back to is, yeah, being shut down sucks because, I mean, I love what I do. And on a personal level, I can't make the income that I want to and live the lifestyle that I'm accustomed to. Woe is me. First world problems, I get it. But the people that I get to help are suffering right now because a lot of these people do rely on the one-to-one service, the half hour 3 times a week, or the 2 hours twice, or the 1 hour twice a week to get their dose of exercise because they don't know what to do on their own. And they're happy to have someone do that for them in exchange for that monetary transaction. Sorry,
it's
Brandon.
Dumb.
I get worked up sometimes and it's frustrating and I just keep going on tangents. So I apologize if that was a little long-winded, but people rely on this stuff. People do. And it's not just about getting big muscles and looking good naked, even though I know a lot of people who work out do miss going to the gym for that. But even those people are far better off and are more healthy than people who aren't working out to look good naked and are just sitting around on their couch. It's frustrating.
It's dumb. Honestly, the way that personal training and exercise has been positioned, at least within the province, is illogical. Mm-hmm. And if you're listening to this as a trainer or you're listening to this as someone who is a recreational exerciser, in my opinion, if you have a connection to your local MPP or your local MP or someone politically, there needs to be a shift in how one-on-one fitness professionals are positioned. Because at the end of the day, there are some personal challenges that Glenn and I are experiencing as professionals not being able to work. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how this influences our clients and influences the people that we see. And as much as Glenn and I would be liking to make more money, and this does influence personal plans a little bit, the things that really drives me to push harder more and more is the number of people who are struggling by not being able to come to a facility like this because they have arthritis and other issues and they can't exercise at home. And if you're someone who can exercise at home, fantastic. But there are a lot of people like your grandparents and other people's grandparents who can't.
Can we position this real quick? As of right now, when we recorded this, one-on-one personal training services cannot be rendered. But if you are a dancer, you can go to a dance class or a dance studio. They don't have drop-ins, granted, but you can still go to, as long as you're doing social distancing, go to a dance class. If you are other medical professional or medical professional like a chiropractor or a physiotherapist who is still doing exercise, you can still see your clients and your patients. However, if you are doing the personal training one-to-one deal, even if you were to follow all the same other restrictions and regulations that are being imposed to dance studios and medical care practitioners, we still cannot work with people. And then this is where it gets illogical, because at the end of the day, the way we're working, at least I'll speak for Strata, the way we're working is in that prehabilitation, sometimes rehabilitation sense, and that we just want to get people moving and exercising pain-free and feeling their best. And isn't that what medical care professionals are trying to do? So anyways, just a little bit of framing and context for where we are coming from.
So furthermore to the framing, which is very interesting, at least as it relates to Ontario, which is different in the US, especially with high numbers, but the governors of each state have a lot more power than people in Canada do in the province and the premier position. However, in the same scenario to Glenn, right now, Glenn and I can't work with our clients. They can't work with you, but we can go get a tattoo. We can go get a massage. We can go get manis and pedis. We can go get a facial, get our face rubbed by somebody for a while, put some cream all over our face and all that stuff.
I'm not sure if you can do the facial stuff.
You can.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. My wife went a few days ago because she won it.
We'll walk out of this podcast right now, Brandon.
And this is the whole thing. So it's very interesting because if you're someone in our world, you're an exercise person, and we do have a lot of listeners from the US that listen to this. Honestly, you guys know how important this exercise thing is. You guys know how important. You guys can go on PubMed and look up the benefits of resistance exercise, anaerobic exercise for long-term health and longevity and disease prevention, and helping people feel better and move better. And it's crazy that people like myself and many others have submitted documents to the province, to medical offices, to bylaw, to economic development, to more and more folks, showing from an engineering perspective, putting aside health and fitness benefits, that studios like ours really can help people.
This isn't pseudoscience. This is data-driven, decades of information, meta-analyses, the highest way you can verify that this is legitimate information. Exercise, eating well, getting the right amount of sleep will help everybody, bar none. The world would be an amazing place if everybody exercised every day, everybody got as much sleep as they needed, and they were eating all the right foods. I'm not even kidding. I mean, people would be in a much better mood. They would make better choices and decisions. We wouldn't be so reliant on a healthcare system. I don't know. I don't know what to tell. I don't know what to tell you, governments running the show here. I don't know. And I appreciate that you are doing, and I really do believe this. I don't think in Canada we've got a power grab. I don't think Premier Ford in Ontario is trying to get more power, take advantage of everything. I genuinely think that these people are trying to do what they believe is in everyone's best interest, and I appreciate that. But if you don't let the people that need the strength training and the exercise to go exercise, you're going to see some depressed people. There's potentially going to see some people pass away from this, and especially because people's health is going to keep deteriorating. Like the more longer you lock them inside, and the less they exercise, the worse this situation is going to get.
Yeah, the economic fallout of where things are right now is going to be pretty crazy no matter what. But I'll tell you what. Why don't we go tick for tack and kind of talk about very quickly, kind of bullet points. What are things that people can do right now to help boost their immune system? Simple things. And I would say the first thing I'd like to start off with is take a vitamin D supplement if you're not getting outside. We're coming into wintertime in Ontario, wherever you are. If you don't get a lot of sun, it's been well shown. There's been a lot of studies showing that a lot of people who are having issues with the coronavirus in hospitals have vitamin D deficiencies. It doesn't mean having vitamin D, an abundance of it will help you prevent it, but it's been correlated that there potentially could be some big changes there, potentially. So if you're not taking vitamin D currently, you're not getting a lot of time outside, especially with the darker days, I would suggest taking a vitamin D supplement. Talk to your physician about how much you should take.
Excellent point, Brendan. I will mirror that. And we've already said eat like a healthy adult. So I won't belabor that too much, but I will say get your fruits and veggies. These things have micronutrients in them that your body needs, minerals, vitamins, and these are all necessary for proper cellular function. Right down at like a microscopic cellular level, your body needs these nutrients. If it's hard to get all these in for yourself, I'll be honest, frozen vegetables are less expensive than fresh ones. And in some cases, they even have more nutrients. So that's one way to get around it. I mean, if you need to take a multivitamin supplement, I don't think it's ideal for the availability in terms of digestion, but please have your fruits and veggies get them however you can, because they are also essential for healthy bodies. Brandon.
If you're someone who's stressed right now and you're worried about money, worried about work, worried about getting sick, worried about going outside, whatever it may be, try to get enough sleep. It's well shown that sleep is one of the most important things that you can do for every system in your body. Try to get 8 hours sleep or more than what you're getting now. And honestly, if you need help with that, there's a supplement that I love from ATP called Mind Mag. I take it personally every night, and for me, it just helps me have a deeper sleep. Get as much sleep as you can. It definitely goes a long way.
And if you think you're one of those people that only needs 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night, I hate to break it to you, that's less than 5% of the population. And I know way too many people who are telling me they only need 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night in order to get by. You've just gotten used to poor sleep habits. So everyone ought to try getting those 7 to 9 hours every night. Listen, exercise. Brandon and I are big fans of exercise. And when you're used to having someone tell you what to do in the gym or following a program, it is easier. However, if you found yourself left to your own devices, small things like going for a brisk walk is an option. You can try doing things with the weights and body weight and isometrics at home. The golden rule is that if it hurts, like pain, stop doing it. Find something different. Don't try to push through the pain. That's a no bueno scenario. Brandon.
As far as it relates to exercise with Glenn, exercise, obviously we are super pro exercise and keeping your body strong. But what I would suggest is write down every type of exercise that you can think of. And I don't mean yoga or Pilates, but what I mean are, what are different adaptations you get from exercise? For example, strength, hypertrophy, cardio conditioning, potentially skills, if you want to call it functional training. And what I would suggest is if you're someone who's currently not exercising, or if you are, look at this list and see where can you try and do different styles of exercise to get different adaptations. For example, more experienced exerciser, if you're someone who loves Pilates, I would suggest try to do some strength-based, low-rep style exercise for a short period of time to stimulate your nervous system to have some new change. Don't worry about what happens, but experience some new stress on your body, a different type of stress, and get better at it. You've never done hypertrophy training? Try to do that. You've never done flexibility training? Try and do that. You never tried anything too skillful where you have to tap your foot and rub your head and your stomach at the same time. Try and do those things. They are not all the same. You're not going to look like a bodybuilder monster. You're not going to get super lean from doing all these things, but they all have diverse stimuluses that they put onto your nervous system. It forces your body to adapt in different neuroplastic ways for each thing. And I like to personally try to cycle through these things because frankly, between skill development, strength and hypertrophy and anaerobic conditioning or aerobic conditioning, your body has to do different things to adapt to them, and all of which play a huge role in boosting your immune system.
I think the last thing I'm going to put out there is a little bit more on the practical end. Schedule in your exercise. I find that when things are in the schedule in your to-do list, they are more likely to get done rather than having that laissez-faire attitude. I understand things are tough. A lot of people are at home taking care of kids right now, or they're on the back foot because they're still trying to get used to all the different changes that are going on because things are still changing every single day. Schedule the exercise in there as if it's something that's just important as your work, because it is.
And the last thing that I will say, there's a lot of stress right now, a lot of anxiety. But what I would suggest, try to do one selfish, mentally relaxing thing each day. For some people like Glenn, meditating works really well. For someone like me, playing drums and doing lots of busy things that distracts my mind does wonders for me. Whatever that mentally cathartic thing is that you can do for yourself each day, if it's possible, 5 minutes or an hour, whatever you got, do it. Because that will help a ton for you to reevaluate the stresses that you're feeling, potentially help with some hormones, and help you just deal with stress a little bit better.
Brandon, what's your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is actually an iPad Pro with Apple Pencil, and I have not purchased one. I'm actually borrowing one from a client and a friend of mine because I'm thinking about, Glenn and I were talking about going digital with our process, and I'm an Apple user. I love the Apple interface, and I've taken a lot, especially with doing a little bit more in-home stuff, which is allowed in Ontario right now. I'm bringing the iPad around with the Apple Pencil, keeping notes, and personally from a note-taking experience, because I really do like the mental memory side of it, of the handwriting notes. Apple iPad and Apple Pencil by far are amazing. So if you're looking at transitioning any of your note-taking stuff, I definitely recommend it. I think it's super, super seamless. Definitely a little bit expensive if you're getting into that interface, but very powerful and very efficient, which is what I love. Glenn, what's your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is Paradigm Mixed Martial Arts. So I got back into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu recently. We're doing the whole social distancing thing. We've got little pods. I can only train with like one or two other guys, but I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. To Brennan's point about doing one thing every day that's selfish and for yourself, even though I don't necessarily bracket Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu down into exercise, even though I'm exerting myself, because the intention isn't to actually improve my body. The intention is to learn how to simulate a strangulation and
crush that dude.
Exactly.
The goal is to crush the other dude.
Listen,
or girl.
However, for me, I appreciate the physical strain of somebody trying to overcome my strength and trying to essentially put me to sleep or to try to make me tap and submit. For me personally, I find having to learn to fight that and to be resilient in that sense helps me translate to be more resilient in my own life. So it's one of those things where being resilient and having to push yourself in one area seems to translate to others. Kind of like how exercise translates really well to feeling good and being immune to disease. So my pick of the week is Paradigm Mixed Martial Arts because that's where I'm training right now. Great group of guys. They're doing a really, really great job, make it safe and healthy for everybody. And I'm loving it.
When I was in college, one of the guys that I roomed with was a jiu-jitsu guy, and he was a purple belt. And for the whole term, he was just talking about like how he would beat all of us up because he's a purple belt and he's so strong. So one night, I mean, I get a little roused. Like if someone says this stuff, I'm just like, you know what? So I got a little competitive. Like, I'll tell you what, man, I took jujitsu for like 3 weeks when I was a kid. Yeah. I'll roll with you. Let's go. So we rolled and I made him tap.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
it was embarrassing. It was great. And I don't mean that in such like an egocentric sense, but it was just, he was like, I'm a purple belt. I got this. He didn't got this.
No, that's, you know what? I never, listen, I was funny because I talked the same trash to all my soccer buddies. I'm like, I'll roll with any of you one-handed. And then I went back to jiu-jitsu, but I hope none of them watch this ever. I mean, they might because I blasted it out to all my friends and family. But I went back to rolling and these people, I was getting manhandled by people who were like a week into it. And I've been training for a year or two minus the breaks. So I'm back to close to peak form though. So I think I can take my buddies again. But the worst thing you ever want to do is trash talk somebody and then like, well, talking the talk but not walking the walk is an awful, awful place to be anytime.
Right. Well, let's go roll. Concerned.
Okay, let's go. Brad and I are going to go asphyxiate each other. That sounds weird when I say it like that.
Yeah, it does.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all human beings, thank you for joining us on another delicious edition of the Minds on Muscle podcast. Brandon, where can people find us?
We are at Strata Internal Performance in Newmarket, Ontario. At the moment, we are currently closed, but when we are open, if you want to check us out, we're at 17705 Leslie Street near Davis and Leslie near the Hyundai dealership. You guys are more than welcome to come. We got some cool equipment and very cool professionals and some study groups that I'm really passionate about. Very quickly, before we wrap this up, when Glenn says the 5-star thing, Glenn and I are not experts. We are not disease experts at all. And I want to make sure that this is just something that's very near and dear to us right now, because unfortunately we're living it both professionally and personally, as many of you are. So we thought this would be a much more passion project where we could talk about some of the things that we're struggling with this, but also if you're listening to it, things that you could do to immediately potentially help yourself to feel better and just have a better, higher quality life. It's not about the coronavirus. Like the title says, it's really about being a healthier person.
And another thing, we would love a 5-star rating. We're on the, I did it again. We're on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Podbean. We love a 5-star rating. If you think the show is valuable, we don't want you to break your integrity. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, give it a little bit of like, share with your friends and family. We would love to reach more people and help as many people as we can, because that is what we love to do. Brandon, it was wonderful.
Thank you so much. Everyone, don't forget to brush your teeth. Brush your teeth. Brush your teeth.